Welcome back to Living Resonance. I'm Wanifa, and today we're exploring the cosmic current of the gene keys and the lunar cycle so you can cultivate your voice, live your genius, and weave your legacy in harmony with the current frequencies. So, currently, you're in the lunar phase of the new moon in Leo, which is gene key 4 and human design gate 4. We are actually in a total solar eclipse time period that happened on the 10th, at least on the east coast of the United States. And we are experiencing the themes of intolerance, understanding, and forgiveness. So this is the genius of not knowing, right? So this is about anything being possible. And yay. So today we're talking about how searching for answers in and of itself can be a problem. It's a time of adventure and exploration. So, we've been talking about in the last few months, we've been talking about the importance of following desires, following intuition. And now we're talking about following your dreams, but not in the way that you have a master plan and you're checking off all the boxes. This is about the feelingness of your dreams, why your dreams are your dreams, because they move you emotionally, right? So, whenever we are searching for answers about our emotions on the external, that's what I like to call it, outside of ourselves, we start a pattern that traps us in confusion and inaction. So, for some reason, as adults, we are used to knowing enough to make a logical decision, right? We have a plan for action. But what do we do when there is no related data? When there's nothing that's truly going to help us make the right decision, right? So, well, we allow our emotions to process to higher understanding. And this energy right now is telling us to use the GPS of our emotion to tune into solutions at a higher level. So in Gene Key 4, we'll start there. It's the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, and the city, SIDDHI, of forgiveness. So in the chapter with Richard Rudd's book, Gene Keys, it's the title is A Universal Panacea. And you'll see how everyone uses this energy as a shadow and hopefully as a gift, right? So, this shadow of intolerance is when you're having a bad day, you find a logical reason to dislike someone or something, right? So, this is a good reason to complain, right? It's but good reason because logically, and when you're thinking, it makes sense. You're not feeling well, so there must be something at fault, right? You're not having a good day. So this becomes opinions, judgments, resentments, and eventually they turn into being convicted and certain on things that are so blatantly wrong, like racism, prejudice, right? And we all have it because we all have a perspective that creates a morality of right and wrong, right? So it's really, are you using this as an excuse for why you don't feel good, right? And so this is how it happens, how it gets cemented into the ugliness of things like that. So if you know, then you know that Gene Keys, the origin where it really comes from is the I Ching, right? The 64 of the I Ching from the tree of human design, right? Richard Rudd studied with Ra Uru. But I Ching is really where we're pulling this wisdom from, the understanding of the 64 through personal downloads. These guys had their own um, understanding to bring this information forward. So I Ching force traditionally in the hexagram 4 is youthful folly. So this is not about being able to consciously, this is about not being able to consciously choose your actions when you are emotional. So essentially being immature in that way, right? But it's just really, we all do this, right? We especially when we don't like to be emotional or if emotions are making us look bad, then we tend to d- try to make a reason why we should have an excuse to be that emotional when we really don't need one. Emotions are totally human. It's not the having the emotion that's the bad part. It's are we able to choose our actions when we are emotional? Right? That's the maturity of it. Have we been taught how to? Were we raised in a way that allowed us to understand how to do that? And then as we're getting older, are we getting to know how to do that? Are we getting better at doing that? Yeah. So youthful folly is basically reacting without awareness and having the ability to establish where you want to come from when you're emotional, then acting and choosing to come from consciousness, from intention. That's really the goal, that we are able to do that no matter how much we are involved or in our emotions. So, I've had clients before come in and they're like, I don't want you to make me smaller because everybody, usually before they come to me, they're like, be quieter. Can you sing softer? Can you speak with less, right? My clients, not all of them, but the this is the extreme that usually they've been told they are too much, that they have been people have trying to smush them down to fit into a space, whether that be a family, whether that be a stage, to fit into the rest of what's going on, right? And they come in and they don't want to be smushed. They don't want to be smushed. Otherwise, they would have done that, right? They would have just become small and quiet like I did. I'm the small, quiet one, right? So so instead of that, what I tell them is like, yeah, no, I'm not here to smush you. I'm here so that we can get you such such an alignment, so much in focus to our intention and the goal, and so much willing to be fully present in that, which takes self-understanding. Yeah. Then that all of that can be moved into to the right space, into the intention of the content, into the connection with the people off of the stage. And so it doesn't put off people or push away people, which is what tends to happen with kind of unaligned energy. It's just if you have really big energy and it's just out there bouncing around, then people get smacked and you don't even know it. You're just being you, right? I'm saying that as somebody who is an intense introvert who's intentionally intensely sensitive, right? So I see big personalities and I appreciate the extreme stream of personality. And at the same time, I have to kind of shore up my energy because it can feel like being rolled over, bowled over, right? So it's just us being different. Nobody's being wrong. But the more aligned we are, the less we feel like that energy as empaths, that energy is coming at us or kind of punching us out of the way. Or that the space will not be able to manage it, it will be harmonious. Yeah. And so yeah, there's different ways that can happen, but big energy is big energy. And you've seen this. This is why we think of people that are graceful, who have big energy, but always willing to have other energy kind of in this space. I think of former uh former what's a former wife? What do they call it? Former First Lady, Obama, right? Michelle Obama is one of those people that you never really like you can feel how big, how much space that she takes up, but you never feel like she's bigger than anybody else. You don't feel like she's going to accidentally knock somebody over because she's tall and somebody's short, right? Like it could happen. I it not That's funny enough. You might see a lot of women do this, but you will see men just kind of accidentally run into somebody because they have no sense of their own physical space. um, yeah, I could go further because you know how have you ever had the experience of men's just elbows, hands, whatever, just be in places they don't need to be and they have no idea. Anyways, moving on. That's this. Okay. So the nature that creates this desire to figure out why you're feeling bad, that's a restlessness. The nature is restlessness. You want to figure out why I can't feel good, right? But essentially it's because we haven't chosen with intention, right? So that's all where all gift is that we intentionally choose to create something good. That's the light that we choose to shine, right? So that is what it is. And this under and but the understanding, this understanding that we're trying to reach for, this restlessness that keeps wanting to know is not going to happen from thinking. It's beyond the mind. So the fear is projected onto others, this fear that we'll never figure it out and therefore continue to feel bad and or worse forever and ever. Amen. Right? So that fear gets projected onto others. That's defensiveness or offensiveness. So I have a little quote for you here. This feelingness is mental assuredness cannot, this feelingness is to be remembered as, right? So when you feel like you have to defend or play offense, like explain why you're good enough is how that comes out. Right? So that feeling of needing to explain or fix things with our words, with our mind, is 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 futile because it doesn't happen with the mind, as we just said. So this quote is about why. Why can't we just figure it out? And the quote from Retrograde is mental assuredness cannot make the body feel safe. Because that's the problem. That you're not going to change the body's feelingness through information and thinking through information and finding more information. Okay. This is a stretch because a lot of us, we really don't even know what this means. We've been taught all our lives that our brains will fix it. So this is a big ask to say all of a sudden that my mind is not the most important thing here, right? Especially if something feels wrong. A lot of the self-help that we have now, is because initially we felt wrong and we wanted to fix it. So you learned and learned and learned and learned ways to fix it, but the information isn't what's fixing it. It's the experience of the knowledge, which is somatic work, which is breath work, which is ritual work, reforming our whys, our habits, our patterns. This is where all this information is coming from. It's nice to talk about, but until we're actually choosing and doing it, it's not going to change anything. Okay? So this is a little bit of rough road here. Karen Curry Parker is going to tell us why this is so important that we get this. We get this. Yeah. It's important information. Now, the programming partner and those in the Western astrology world, you can think of that as the opposition, right? The programming partner is the 49th shadow of reaction. So this is again reacting without centeredness, alignment, intention, maturity. Yeah. It's not the emotion that's the problem. It's the avoidance through mental work. Yeah. So this is where Gene Keys lets you know how you can let this be a leadership opportunity. So you can lead everyone to step into the gift that's also available. So we're getting really specific about what the shadow is, because that's usually what we recognize as why we want to change something, right? That's the whole point. That's why in the Gene Keys, the shadow is considered the key. What are the Gene Keys? Why are the keys? The shadows. The shadows are there for a reason. They're not innately, inherently bad. So if you relate and or find any of this familiar, remember, this is not you being bad. This is you noticing when the gift is available. Okay? So if you notice on the repressive side for repressing this energy that you get apathetic, is giving up on understanding at all. So it's fear disguised as believing you're lacking intelligence, like that you can't figure out, that it's not figure outable, right? And the reactive side is nitpicking. This is thinking ruling your life, your inner world. Yeah. Yeah. And this, another way to recognize this is anger. If you find out that what you think isn't true, this is blaming a person or systems for not giving you all the answers that you think you should have in order to feel better, right? It's honing in on irrelevant details to vent frustration and using it as an opportunity to criticize and complain to release tension. This is all from the Gene Keys chapter. Yeah. So this is also like complaining is the shadow way of clearing the emotion, right? But the problem is actually intensifies it. It just makes you more and more realize how much you are not safe in your body. Because no matter how much you do it, it just gets worse, right? Solving by letting go of the hope that your mind can bring you a sense of safety. I messed that up. So, anyways, but that's essentially in order to correct this, you can start by letting go of the hope that your mind can bring a sense of safety. So that is the evolution. It's going from thinking being the answer to thinking being a thing that's not related to the answer. Okay. So on the repressive side is thinking again, but not letting it rule your life. And then on the reactive side, it's letting go of the hope that your mind's going to make you feel better. Right. So this is not projecting your internal disappointment onto the environment and others, right? So if we've done that, then we are entering into the gift. The gift is understanding. So true understanding does not include the mind, as we said before, and cognitive capacities within your brain. So this at all, any of this, including the energy, you see this energy around, if you understand that my thoughts come from outside of the mind, um, then we are talking about below the waterline here. Yeah. So understanding is the whole being living a recognition. So you can think of Zen koan paradoxes. So this is something that has been used in different pathways and religions of understanding at a higher or more spiritual level. So these are puzzles that when the mind, usually some kind of phrase or question that the elder sits with the person so that they can go and have an existential moment. So when the mind finally feels like it's wrapped itself around a koan, um, then the mind realizes that its own logic can never solve the koan. And then understanding dawns. Now, understanding, I have as the quote, is a feeling. and of knowing that floods your whole body and radiates from the solar plexus area. Okay. So this is huge, right? So this knowingness isn't a thought process of logic. It's a feeling. I want y'all to sit with that because I have a couple clients that I'll be repeating this to that always tend to fall back to the safety of figuring it out. It's just been their best tool up until it wasn't, right? So instead of the restlessness, that nature of this energy of thinking, solving your insecurity, it becomes restlessness to solve and secure the well-being of everyone, of society, of all of us, including ourselves, right? So solving my insecurity as opposed to solving the well-being of us all. Yeah, the focus shifts. That restlessness shifts the focus. So that's another way to move into the gift, right? So while the Gene Keys always helps us to recognize the opportunity to live in our superpowers, those gifts, Karen Curry Parker gets more specific. So in the quantum human design with gate 4, the possibility, Karen Curry Parker reminds us that the incredible opportunity. So this is the thing that we are in the total solar eclipse. I'm not going to run the whole chart with you today. We have a membership for that, right? So, but she wants us to remember how important this opportunity is with the complete magnitude of power around eclipses. In this energy, which is completely expansion, it's Leo, right? Planet Jupiter. If anybody's paying attention, you know how important that is, right? It's all of this happening with the only the only thing that's not is nothing. It's fully open to possibility. She says it better. Okay. She says it better. She is saying that this is the most expansive moment there is to completely change your patterns. And it's totally available because July activated that possibility. And now this is the openness that allows for anything to be made new, right? She also warns us that there's a trap of believing you have to figure it out before you've started. I am running into this trap as well because great minds think alike. So this is another piece of it. If you think you're going to figure out how to fix every bad pattern of your life, then you're not getting the point of the key, right? This is a feelingness. This is a letting go of the mind, right? An openness. So the hard part, Karen Curry Parker is trying to be specific for you here, is understanding that clarity is often born through action and not before it. That's hard to remember for me, anyways. I don't know about you. And doing it while you're still doubting, that's also a hard part because doubt is basically not knowing, right? And then recognizing doubt as a signal for something new starting. So some of us have had some at bats at this, that the void is where anything's possible. Right? And if we can believe that in a way that we can start feeling that, then we're in this gift. Okay. And then ultimately, we have some quotes here. We're going to explore new ideas without needing guaranteed outcomes. Second quote, we're going to allow possibility, not certainty, to lead the way. This energy supports building new patterns, structures, and rhythms that align with a higher, more liberated version of who we are becoming. So, what are we doing instead of figuring out? We're allowing, we're letting go of what we thought we knew, right? Here's more on how you recognize if you haven't shifted into the gift yet. If you're not in that superpower yet, we're going to even give you some more diagnosis here. So, quote, blocked by the need for certainty, allowing self-doubt to override intuition, right? So there's that. There's clinging to structures out of fear, and there's a pressure to figure it out. That keeps us in cycles of inactivity. So if you're procrastinating out of the fear of not knowing enough, this comes up a lot, weirdly enough, in the gene keys, because life is about acting. It's about experiencing, right? So it comes up as like, okay, that's the fastest way to lose your energy, to be out of your gift, to be out of your possibilities and out of your power, is to stop out of fear. Okay. So essentially, this month is about action born of unjudged emotion and desire birthing understanding. Okay. So we're letting our emotions be the guide that allows us to find our inner compass. So here are some questions for you for your journal. Where in my life am I waiting for certainty before I begin? And what might shift if I chose to begin anyway? That's the first question. And the second is, am I willing to view this next chapter as a worthy experiment, even if I don't know where it will lead? So those are your questions. If you want to join in for the membership, you can contact me with the information below. And always remember that Gene Keys is fully, not maybe not fully, but there's there's a nice series on Gene Keys with Richard Wright and Gaia, and I have a nice little link for you as a referral below. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let me know how this total solar eclipse is treating you below.